Hey guys, today we're going to talk about deadlifts. So there are three crucial pointers you guys need to be aware of when you're doing your deadlift, which are really going to make or break them. I find a lot of trainers are missing these three crucial points and we're getting our deadlifts completely wrong. So a few things you want to think about. Deadlifts are predominantly a hamstring glute exercise. So if you want to make your butt nice and peachy, if you want to build strength in those areas, and if you want to avoid injury, this video is for you. Especially if you find that you're more quad dominant, or if you find that you never feel sore in your glutes and you feel sore in your back in your deadlifts, you're doing your deadlifts with the wrong technique and you need to come back to basics and learn how to redo them. So what we're going to offer you guys today is three crucial pointers that make or break your deadlift cheat sheet, which is really going to optimize your ability to do deadlifts and build strength in your glutes and hammies and not remain quad dominant, and also reduce any risk of injury from your back.
So firstly, we want to go through point number one, which is your setup. So when you're setting up your deadlift, there are a few things you need to think about, and it will be slightly different for everyone depending on if you have, for example, longer femurs, a shorter torso, in terms of what your angles will be. But there are a few things that you need to, everyone needs to make sure that's exactly the same. And the first one is you need to have a straight back. So making sure from your shoulders to your hip there's a nice straight line, and also your head. If there's any curvature in your back other than the natural curve of your spine, you need to reevaluate and get someone to look at it, because it needs to be fixed. In this starting position, you should also feel tension in your hamstrings. So if you're not feeling tension in your hamstrings, almost kind of like they're being stretched, then you need to bring your hips up possibly a little bit higher and your shoulders down a little bit lower. You also need to make sure your shoulders are over the bar, and the bar sits over the middle of the foot, so it's nice and close to your shins, and your weight can also be in your heels, sort of counterbalancing against that bar. If your shoulders are not over the bar and your hips further down, you'll need to bring your hips up and your shoulders a little bit lower to acquire that position. And then finally, your knees should be back over your heels, so you shouldn't have your knees in front. There should be a nice vertical line at your shins, and this will also help in bringing tension into your hamstrings. When you're, the second part will be the drive, so opening up into your deadlift, which will be driving the bar from your mid-shin to your hip. In this position, you should really feel tension in the hamstrings and the glutes as you squeeze that bar up, and no pain in your lower back. If you feel pain in your lower back, you really need to evaluate whether your hamstrings and your glutes are doing anything in the deadlift, and reassess that. So when you lift up, what's going to happen is you're going to open the hips and the knees at the same time and drive with the chest. So the chest is going to come up, or feel like it's coming up first, but actually that movement's being created from your knees and your hips opening up. Once you get to the top of that position, your hips, you should squeeze your butt and push your hips forward, so you're at full extension. Not so much so you're like pushing your hips so far that you're having to bend your back, but just so that you're reaching upright position. Finally, the last bit would be your hip hinge. So your hip hinge is what happens when you come down. So your hips push back, you hinge at the hips as you bring the deadlift back to the bar back to your knee, and then you can take the weight into your knees the last little bit. It's probably one of the most complicated parts of the deadlift, is still maintaining tension in the hamstrings and glutes as you bring the weight of the bar forward, and then being able to take the weight into your legs rather than just bending over and using your back to do the deadlift on the way back down. So what this should feel like is all the tension from the bar and all the weight from the bar sitting into your hamstrings and glutes, and your back is literally just there as kind of like a support to hold that weight. It's not actually doing any of the work as you come down back to that mid-shin position. So if you have a look at some of these videos, you can see like what a correct deadlift would look like, and we just want to make sure that you're hitting all those three points correctly. If you're not feeling the weight if you feel like you're not doing it correctly, so you're either getting pain in your back, you're not sore in your glutes and your hammies after your deadlift, or you're getting sore in your quads or like weird areas, you're probably doing the technique wrong, and we're not quite getting what we call engagement in the posterior chain, which is our main aim in a deadlift. So your hammies and your glutes aren't activated, your positioning is slightly off, and then you will need to have a look at how to actually fix that. So what I would do is, if you guys would like some extra help with that, get in contact with me and we can organise to have a chat about what you need to be doing better in your deadlift, or what you need to be doing better in your other areas of fitness where you feel that you're lacking. So thanks so much for downloading, guys. I hope you've learnt something, and even just by watching some of these videos you can see what a proper deadlift should look like, and I would love some feedback if you have any. Thanks guys, bye.